Right.
Power cord? Is it the power cord? That's usually my game.
My pen.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Steve, we're live.
Well then, it's showtime, everyone. Curtains up, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the February 11th regular board meeting for the Yellow Springs Board of Education. Good evening to everybody, and I hope we're all enjoying Winter Wonderland. This is the board meeting where the board does each month the things that the board needs to do to keep the schools moving forward. We look forward to public comments and contributions, but because we are still meeting in this remote circumstance, and again under the guidelines that have been set by the Ohio Attorney General, comments, if you would like to make any, must be submitted through the chat window on the YouTube site that you're watching. Again, we'd be delighted to hear from you. We'll read those out loud so that they become part of our public discussion. But since we can't be in person and we can't invite you all into the meeting, that's how you have to do it. With that by way of preliminaries, I guess I'm going to ask if Tammy, you would please call the roll.
Khan.
Here.
Merhemick.
Here.
Ellison.
Present.
McQueen.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll go on to category 2. Number 2, the approval of our minutes, both from the organizational meeting we had in January, that meeting we have annually to set our board officers and our board positions, and then the minutes from the regular meeting. Do I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Oh,
Yeah, I heard it was very faint, but I did hear you, Steve. But it's quiet.
Any corrections or comments about these 2 minutes? I've been told you should wait for a beat of 7 seconds to in a delay. So, hearing none, let's call the vote on that, please.
Khan.
Yes.
Merhemick.
Yes.
Ellison.
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Item 2.2, I'd like to acknowledge all those persons present virtually. Thank you for joining us and welcome. I also, however, want to acknowledge some persons not present. And so give me just a moment to do this, if you would. There's been a great deal of heat, alas, very little light, generated by some villagers about Mills Lawn and what might become of it in the future. A group of citizens, as we understand it, have come together in an organization and are touting a plan that they would like the schools to consider. As part of our facilities process, and as you all know, we are in the middle of doing that right now, we are eager to hear from any and all who want to contribute to that conversation. And to that end, we invited this group of villagers to attend this meeting and make a public presentation of this so-called plan. They declined. They chose not to come to this board meeting to make a presentation, and I'm frankly not sure why, since the letters continue in the news this week. But we're disappointed that they did not take this opportunity to come present whatever it is they might be working on in front of the board in a public venue. I hope that perhaps in the future they'll reconsider their decision and make this plan public to all of us. So with that by way of item 2.2, we're going to move on to our item 3, communications and reports. And our community comments. Stephanie, I'm sort of gazing in your virtual direction.
There's still a delay, but no comments yet. I'll flag you. I think maybe we could do the schools in action first, and then I'll let you know if anything comes in.
Yeah, again, for those who might be watching this at home, I think what we'll do, if there's a delay here, sometimes there's a lag, we can always come back, and Stephanie monitors these. We've done this a few times in our previous meetings. If a comment comes in, we can interrupt the rest of the business, and we can enter that into the public record. So for the time being, we'll move on to 3.3, schools in action. Are we mic'd up to the people who need to be mic'd up?
Yes, but it does not want to play on the right screen. So give me 1 second.
Okay.
See if I can figure it out.
Technical difficulties here.
Switch it on me. We're gonna try. I tested it today and it worked, but it never seems to work when we go live. All right.
All righty.
Hi, thank you for having us today. We're presenting on behalf of the French class at the Yellow Springs High School. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. My name is Karina. I am presenting with Marley Thomas, Joseph Mindy Berman, Bobby Wyatt, and Isaac Ellis. And we're here. Can you still hear me? I'm sorry. I think something's going on with me. Just wanted to make sure. Okay. Yeah, we're here on behalf of our French classes and to come up with a solution to raise money for Biamana. Yeah. Every year, Yellow Springs High School hosts a French cafe where 100% of the donations go to the School of Sciences in Biamana, Rwanda. This school provides high-level education and helps 80% of their students gain a college scholarship. However, the school costs around $300 a night for each family. I mean, a year, my bad. In a country where the average wage is less than $1 per day, many other families cannot afford this expense. French Cafe helps fund this for students and gives life-changing scholarships for students who may otherwise not be able to afford the school.
So one of the wonderful students from the school is Dr. Janame Musa Bayamungo, who is a proud graduate from there. He was an orphan from the Rwandan genocide and was raised by his sister. 11 years ago, the funds raised by Yellow Springs French students helped to support his entire way through school at the Biamana Science School. And after graduation, he attended graduate school and even became a doctor. You can hit the next slide there. Thank you. And he is currently studying to be a cardiothoracic surgeon, which there are not many of in Rwanda today. And even while finishing his internship at an Eastern Rwandan hospital, he has also started a foundation that focuses on helping at-risk children and young women become independent. So 11 years ago, he wrote this letter thanking Yellow Springs High School for their help, saying that his studies would not have been possible without our school's help. Now, whether or not that is true, even today, this is an email that a brief correspondence that he had with our French teacher, Mr. Smith, recently. More than a decade later, he is still thankful for the support our school offered him on his path to becoming successful and inspiring individual that he is today.
This year, because of not having French Cafe due to the pandemic, obviously, we really wanted to find a way to be able to still give these scholarships like we have in past years. And since our classes have been working on baking in French class as it is as just a part of learning French culture, we figured that we might as well figure out a way to use this to our advantage. And so we were brainstorming and we came up with a few options, but we decided that the best way to be able to do this was to hopefully see if we could sell bread and all of our baked goods at the farmers market. Yeah, and it helps us with our baking and it gives us an opportunity to still be able to help even with the pandemic. Sorry, next slide.
Because of the cancellation of French Cafe, the students brainstormed other ways to raise money for Biamana. Many ideas were given, such as the possibility of selling bread with orders online, but we went with selling bread at the market instead. This required the students to learn the cottage food laws of Ohio, such as we could not sell refrigerated food, so that meant no danishes, sadly. Also, we would have to label and wrap all of our baked goods properly. And you can go next slide.
Our newfound knowledge of the market laws, we shifted more towards a hands-on learning experience and learned how to make our own kinds of French baked goods. A few that you'll probably have near you right now were baked and delivered by the students in our class. Some of these include choux pastry, which is not as gross as it sounds. So it can include choquettes, which are these kind of light and eggy pastries with pearl sugar or cream filled. Fougasse, which there's an image of right there, it's the leaf-shaped bread, is more of a French pretzel covered in herbs. Boule is a kind of sourdough, a French sourdough, generally small and rather puffy. Macarons are pretty recognizable. They're a chewy kind of cookie made with meringue, egg whites, and sugar. Queen Amman, which are also represented there, are a buttery, crispy pastry that can be filled with jelly, caramel, chocolate, and other similar kinds of sweet fillings, but I've been told that they're also just good on their own. And everybody knows croissants. They're a very classic puff pastry that's generally served with coffee. I know that personally, a lot of the students, we can move on to the next slide. Personally, a lot of the students have kind of gathered into this and kind of taken it to heart. Personally, me and my dad have started baking boule as a routine, the sourdough, which Mr. Smith is rather happy with.
I've also experimented with boule and choquettes, and they've both been absolutely delicious. 10 out of 10, I recommend those choquettes. They take like an hour. So easy, so fun, and delicious.
I've also made a few things. I've tried a lot. Not all of them worked, but I made chouquettes, I made boule, I made fougasse, and I made the cream-filled chouquettes, which are just cream puffs, but they're basically the exact same thing. You just fill them with cream that's sort of like whipped cream. It's really, really yummy. Also recommend. It's really cool, and I think it would be amazing to be able to share this with other people too. So
I've only made choquettes that made it to the baking stage. I tried making fougasse, but the yeast was a beast, and I only got to the dough part.
All right, so thank you. With your support, our French classes can plan to bake more goods and sell at the farmers market for French in place of French Cafe this year. All of our proceeds will help create scholarships and invest in a new generation for the BMANA students. Thank you for your time.
So one of the privileges I have of being board president is I get to ask the first question. So let me just start by saying, this is wonderful. Not only did you produce wonderful things, and I guess I have to admit publicly because of the sunshine laws, the board has gotten a preview taste of some of these pastries, and they are spectacular. The question, though, that I have is, so, right, you're doing this because we can't have the French Cafe that has been such a wonderful tradition in our school for a very long time now. But I'm wondering if there's anything in this project that you could imagine might be continued even once, COVID is out of the way and we're all sort of back to normal again. Could you imagine farmers? Well, go ahead, please jump in.
I personally think that it would be really cool if we could continue something like this alongside French Cafe. Obviously we could be making the pastries and then just bringing them to French Cafe, because usually during French Cafe we are making things for people. But yeah, I think that this would definitely help, and it would allow us to raise more money, and I think it's really cool that we're able to come up with this new idea that we can definitely use after the pandemic and during it. So
yeah, if I may add to that, so during French Cafe, a lot of what people did was make their own French food and take it. And with a lot of newfound knowledge on French baking, it just seems that we can sort of expand on that a lot with skills that we've already learned, that we didn't have to go out on our own to learn them. So yeah, I think it is amazing that we can now sort of do this in addition. I don't think it really has to be anything official. It just sort of adds to it in itself.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of those points. I think that it's also kind of cool that we get to kind of do this slowly through COVID. And I'm sure that, you know, if we get a chance to kind of like work out all these kinks, it is definitely something that could be repeated next year. Because I think that it is an important lesson in like entrepreneurship and all of those baking skills that are super cool to have. And it's definitely not something that you expect going into French class, but it's so much fun and valuable.
I just want to say thank you to all of you. You know, baking takes such precision, which is why I am not a baker, but not a baker. And I did have some. I have not had my dinner yet, so it was a pre-dinner treat, and it was absolutely lovely. So this is pretty amazing, and I think that this example is really good for all of us about how do we pivot. You know, nobody expected COVID, but how do we pivot from such a well-loved event like the French Cafe? How do we pivot and do something equally as meaningful? And I think you figured that out. So excellent. Well done.
Yeah. Board, I can't see people's faces, so so I can only see a few of you. So other questions or comments to our bakers?
No, it was amazing. I also enjoyed it pre-dinner here since we're a little delayed with the meeting, so it has held me over, and it was awesome. I think I ate both the French pretzels are gone in my bag.
I'm personally, we're waiting for them to get back from a cooking class, and then we will all be enjoying it very soon. So it sounds good. I'm really glad to know what we have in this bag. So I'm excited. I'm sure the family will be too. Thank you again.
Yeah, merci. Délicieux, beurre, floconneur. It was perfect.
Yeah, I guess I would also just say it's a great project to be doing at this time of year. It's a great way of connecting language and culture. It's a great way of keeping your school board members really happy because that delivery was so welcome this afternoon. And I will look forward to hearing about, in some ways, the where the rubber meets the road here is, can we raise as much money for the school this way as we have done over the years with the French Cafe, and so it'll be interesting to see the experiment through to the end and see how we do financially.
And it's a great, it started off really fun. We're going to get some delicious food, but then when I set it out to kind of look at it all and take a picture before we ate it all, I thought, well, it's art. A lot of it is just beautiful. It's chemistry. Then you're explaining to us the whole entrepreneurship piece. It's pretty nifty. Thank you so much.
Yeah, indeed. Well done. C'est magnifique. Well, thank you, folks. And you are not obligated to stay for the rest of the meeting, though you're certainly welcome to do so. But we really appreciate this. It's really, especially this year, since we don't get to see you all in the same kinds of ways. It's really lovely to have a Schools in Action report like this. So we really thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening to you.
You too.
So now we'll move on to 3.4, our EMIS coordinator presentation.
I want to just intro this, if you can hear me, and that as part of the systems and efficiency work that Tammy and I have been working on, we realized that our enrollment process, specifically our open enrollment process, needed some work. And so I tasked it to Margaret and Thomas, and they've done an incredible job. And so they're going to do it. But no, I cannot see the presentation if somebody just asked me that. So
I don't see it either.
Okay. Does not work. All right, I'm gonna.
Here it is. Here it
I'm gonna
is.
do PDF.
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay. Y'all good?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, hi everybody. This is actually my first time to be at a board meeting, and I've worked for the district for a couple of years. So, hey, it's my first one.
Welcome.
Right, well, thank you. So I am Margaret Swanson. I am the EMIS coordinator, and Tom Young is going to present with me, and we're very excited to talk to you about this project that we did, streamlining our open enrollment process using something called AppSheet. So next slide, please. All right, so why do we need software for open enrollment? As Terry mentioned, right, her and Tammy's vision is a district-wide effort to kind of streamline processes and promote greater efficiencies. So our first stage to do that was to revise our board policy on inter-district open enrollment. I know that's up for its second read tonight. We have extensively revised that to make the process to lay it out more clearly for our families, but then also to be able to build more efficient processes based on the policy that we have created. So reducing data errors, as you know, is crucial. The role of EMIS is continuing to grow because the amount of data that schools are required to report to ODE is continuing to grow. Just this year, I've been the EMIS coordinator for just over a year. They've added 2 new collections, ODE has, and they're also getting more granularity in the data that they're requiring us to submit to them. And I imagine, right, that as systems become more sophisticated and we can cull more data, this trend is just going to continue. And since data is used to fund, since data is used to, for our local report card scores, it's really, really important that we get it right and that we're submitting clean data. So software is going to help us do that because we're going to remove some of the touches on that data and we're going to remove some of the points of failure in our systems. A software system will also help us remove redundancies and free up staff time. I know all of us feel overburdened and stretched thin some of the time, and so if we can make the system do the work for us, that is a real benefit. So next slide, please. All right, so what is AppSheet? This is something that, in line with what Terry had tasked me to do, Tom and I to do, I am also getting a master's in information systems. And so part of my coursework is doing a project for my organization that employs me. So this came up at a perfect time. And I said to Terry, could we work on open enrollment? I want to try to fix our processes. And in the course of doing my coursework, my advisor turned me on to AppSheet because I was looking at these software vendors and their prices are just prohibitive. I think there's one that for a low down payment of $15,000 for the first year, you can get some software. So that's just not going to work for us. So my advisor told me about no-code app building platforms, of which AppSheet is one. What it does is you don't need any programming experience whatsoever. Anybody off the street can sit down with AppSheet and learn and build an app. It's a click, drag, and drop. So you're going to build apps to collect or to connect data. It's mobile and desktop. You can use it on your cell phone, use it on your tablet, use it on a web browser, any web browser. For us, this AppSheet in particular, I went this direction because it's part of Google Cloud. Since we're a Google district, right, that's going to give us the interoperability and the functionality that we need with products that we already have. And then the kicker to all this at the very bottom, discount for educational organizations. All right, it's free if you use it in the classroom. So if the teachers come up with a project they want to do with their kids, or they want to track something themselves, completely and totally free. For the rest of us, it's $2.50 a month per license. So that's pretty hard to beat that price. So Tom and I both have licenses right now, and I know that as we continue to build out our applications, we will be getting more and more people licenses. Next slide, please. So what exactly are we doing with it? We have created a series of interconnected apps that are going to collect the necessary data for both open enrollment and then eventually student enrollment. We've created workflows within the app that are going to automate the many steps in the various processes. And for me, this is the best part of the entire system, are these workflows that we are able to build. And they're very sophisticated workflows. Some of the things that Tom and I have built into them are really, really cool. And Tom's going to give you a tour here in a little bit. And then we've also created a backend database for all of the student data, which is going to be managed at the central office. And again, this is just to keep our data clean, to remove unnecessary touches on that data, and just keep it as safe and secure as possible. Next slide, please. All right, so benefits, I won't belabor all of these because I know I've touched on a couple of them already, but I think the most important benefit is it's going to make the process easier for our family. Our families is going to be one-stop shopping for them. It'll be very easy to launch the application, complete the necessary form. They'll automatically get an email with an attachment that says, hey, we received it. Here's a copy for your records. So it'll be really easy to, if you have multiple children in your family, you're going to be right there in the same location. Once you finish one app, then the next app will pop up. Super easy. Low cost, as I mentioned, integration with our other Google products, no outside expertise or training required, and it's all digital. So this is very green. It's going to reduce a lot of the paper and ink that we are burning through. A lot of times this process generates a lot of wasted paper. So the way we're doing it is all going to be saved in our Google Drives, in our Google Vault. And then when we're done with the process, we'll print out one copy to go in the student cumulative file. So we're going to reduce a lot of waste that way. And the automated workflows will save time. They're going to speed up processes, and they're going to help us minimize errors in the handling of the data. All right, next slide, please. All right, so we have built in this process 6 apps. They're built and ready to launch. We have our returning open enrollment, which launches this Monday. It is tested and ready to go. Our enrollment backend also launches on the 15th. Since it's the piece that houses all of the apps, it has to launch at the same time as the front end. It's also the workhorse. The beauty that Tom has done in building all the back end is just, he's done a fantastic job. We'll have our new open enrollment launch on April 1st, which is when that window opens. File upload, which is for safely and securely uploading any extra documents that are needed. That'll launch April 1st. Our letter of acceptance app will launch in June. And then our relocation open enrollment will launch in August. And that one is for Yellow Springs residents who move out of the district during the school year, but then want to open enroll back. So all of these apps are similar in some ways, but then also slightly different because they'll have different processes. So those are the 6 apps that we have built. And then there are, next slide, please. There are other uses for AppSheet. We won't go into all this just so we can keep moving, but Tom and I have talked about ideas for IT. Teachers could use it, administrators, athletics. Donna has already reached out about using it for student services, and then transportation. So those are just a few of the areas that could really benefit if they wanted to get into using AppSheet, and would be very easy to do. All right, next slide, please. All right, and at this point, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to turn it over to Tom, who's going to talk about security, and then he's going to give you a tour of a couple of the apps. And then at the end of that, we will be happy to answer any questions.
Hey, everybody. Let me share my screen here with you. Okay, can everyone see that okay? Yeah. Okay, so this first thing I'm showing you here is just our returning open enrollment notice of intent app that we'll be launching on Monday. And this is what it will look like in a web browser. It will also be available to download as an app on your phone if you so choose, but this will be linked on our website on Monday. They will be able to, families will be able to come in and fill in this data. And bear with me for a second. I'm going to fill some of this in here so that I can show you. I'm in the 5th grade currently. I will be returning. So the parent will fill in all of this information for us. They will then be able to come over here and read our parent certification and sign to certify it here in the app. The app then forwards you back to the starting page again in case there is another student that needs to be enrolled. So then I'm going to jump over here. This is our enrollment backend app. So this is the piece that the public won't ever see. So this is the piece that Margaret and Terry and the principals will all work in. So you can see here, the application that I just submitted has been received. And I'm going to pull over my email window here. And you can see here that the email automatically generated when the application was received by the system. We have some short text here, and then all of those fields that were filled in the app automatically populate into the form, as you can see here with the signature. And this is just a notice to let the family know that we received it. So then Margaret will be able to come into our backend app and review the application. And she'll be able to mark whether the student will be returning next year or not returning next year right there in the app. So I will be returning next year. So we're going to save and sync our app. And what that is going to do is trigger the automatic email to notify them that we have acknowledged they will be returning next year, and attach our form. Dear Thomas Young, Terry is looking forward to having us back next year. And all of that happens automatically just from that one button push within the app. So like Margaret said, that was our goal. Let's automate this as much as possible. Let's reduce errors as much as possible. And once that data has been entered into the system, we're then able to take it and manipulate it and quantify it in any way we want to help Margaret with her EMIS collecting. And that is the end of my demo.
Wow. I remember hearing vaguely that there was this, EMIS thing about open enrollment, and good. I was all, wow. Let me just start off by reminding everybody who may be listening out there in the YouTube world. Thomas and Margaret are among our district staff you don't get to see as often. They aren't teachers in our classroom, but without whom the district doesn't work. And especially this year, the services of our backstage crew have been absolutely vital, and they have been indispensable. Thank you both for working on this. So forgive me for this question, because I'm just, I'm essentially a 19th century guy. Is this done on a phone, or can this be done on a laptop? Or can it be done both, or could somebody else?
Right, yeah, it can be done on both, any internet connected device. So if you have a phone and you choose to download our app, that's great. If not, that link will be available on our website. People will be able to go right to the website and click to get to that form.
And so we push that information out to parents how?
I've been I've been working with Stephanie, well, and Tom. We use our one call system. We've sent
Okay.
out several reminders. It's also posted on the website, and there's another reminder going out Monday that the window is opening again.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've been in contact.
Yeah, because this seems, just brilliant in terms of a way of gathering the information and as you say, the gathering it all in one place. I think that's going to make, and I think, again, for people watching at home, we have to report all kinds of different information to the state as a matter of state law. Margaret said that information has become more and more granular. I think that's the word you use, Margaret. Which means that the reporting of it has become a larger and larger task. So this kind of efficiency here, I think, is just tremendous. So bravo, and thank you both for doing this. Anybody else have embarrassingly inept technical questions like me? Oh, you all are just...
I don't have questions, but it looks like you make it look very, very easy and, like Steve said, very efficient. So, I was feeling emboldened by that, like, wow, maybe these systems can actually be workable for some of us who are not very tech savvy. So
I personally would like to hear from someone who has to open and enroll, like how much of a difference this would make. Even if they're out there in the YouTube world and can comment, I'd love to hear exactly like what a difference this would make, and like would this be very beneficial to your common open enrollment parent?
Yeah,
I assume it would be. Huh?
We would love that feedback too.
Yeah.
I'm going to speak on behalf of Nancy because I know she wouldn't mind if I said this, and I think this will decrease her workload by I don't even know how much. I think that have you shared this with her already, Tom?
No, I have not.
She's going to jump for joy.
Well, yeah, wonderful. Thank you all for doing this. And so in 4 days or 3.5 days or something, the first phase of this goes live. So that's tremendous. Look forward to watching this roll out and making lives easier for people who have to do all of this work all the time and every single year.
Yeah, so I appreciate the time for them to present. Sometimes it's necessary to see the man behind the curtain, and this is pretty incredible. So
yeah, it really is.
I appreciate the time too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any final questions before we let Margaret and Tom go? Well, again, thank you both for taking some time out of your evening. Margaret, you're welcome to come to all of our board meetings. It's lovely to have you, even if you don't have to present. But again, thank you for taking the time.
Sure. Thanks, y'all, for having me. We were very excited to give this presentation, so thank you very much.
So we'll move now to item 3.5, which are our administrative reports. And I think this time, Michelle, I'm going to call on you to go first.
Sure. So we are in the middle of Black History Month, and let's see, Stephanie, here we go. In the middle of Black History Month this month, our theme is Here and Now. And so what we're doing is obviously Black History Month is usually really big at Mills Lawn, and we had to obviously do some things differently this year because of COVID. So what we decided to do instead was to make sure, and what's usually done is each class does a presentation over the morning announcements in the morning, so that every day they're talking about something, some tidbit about Black history. And given that we don't have that option right now, what we decided to do instead was create a Google slideshow. So every teacher in the building, and some of the specialists, myself included, we took a day and we each created a slide for that fit our theme, which is the power of words. And power. So we gave the teachers a Google Drive full of powerful words and phrases and people that people have said. and then a slide prepared to tell people, to show the kids every day, like what those words mean while they're relevant to Black History Month. And we included a couple of the slides that you can see, like they have videos, and each teacher, you send your slide out the night before, and each teacher the next day share at some point during their day, takes 10 to 15 minutes and shares that slide out with the kids so that they're getting a constant exposure every day to something, whether it be, so like you can see that one, let's see, this one is the power of words, quotes to get us started. We all require respect. And so there's a picture of Aretha Franklin and Barack Obama. And his, if everything was perfect, you would never learn and you would never grow. Then there's Queen Bee. And there's videos in the corner that the teachers can, we try to include some people do. I did 2 different slides. So there was a slide that was, it was say her name. So there was a slide that was for older kids that had Breonna Taylor, her picture, and also a video about the importance of the talk that Black parents often have to have with their kids. And then there was also a Sesame Street clip for our younger kids, but also in a different version of the definition of what say her name in the movement is about at their level. So, there's either 2 slides or there's a variation in the slide so that different age groups can still participate. So that's what we're doing. At the end, we'll have a great, so this is for that one's for the older kids. There was a conversation about the police and Breonna Taylor and what happened. And for the younger kids, there was a slide about Sesame Street and about what to do if someone is treating someone wrong. So everyone is able to join in the conversation. And then, yeah. So we'll have that. And then at the end of the month, we'll have an awesome slideshow. And hopefully next month we can send it out. You guys can watch it at your leisure, obviously not in the middle of the board meeting. The slide, you can kind of go through it and things. So then we are getting ready for, obviously we're getting ready for to return back. So, teachers are super excited about that. We're excited to go back to our hybrid learning, and we're getting prepared in terms of getting ready to there's paw prints everywhere. We have sanitizers, we have masks, we have a ton of different things that are all in place. So we are ready. I think the kids are excited, some anxious, but I think more excited than anything. And we'll have updates about, how it's going at next month's board meeting. And we want to give a shout out to Sherrod Wheeler, Orion Sage Fabrata, Alana Calfee, and Amina Chappelle. They were the 5th and 6th grade winners in the annual Dr. Martin Luther King Community Essay Event. The theme was "Where do we go from here? Hopes and expectations." They wrote some very powerful essays, some very powerful thoughts that came out of some very little people. And so all of our 5th and 6th graders wrote thoughtful, heartfelt essays, and they made us all very proud. So shout out to those who there was 2 in 5th grade and 2 in 6th grade who placed. And that's my report for this month.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, I love any month with history in the title. So February is particularly exciting for me as well. I wonder, Michelle, if you, I guess this is particularly hard to gauge under all the different circumstances, but I wonder if you've sensed that Black History Month has taken on a different kind of urgency with elementary school kids, given the particular national circumstances that have unfolded over the last, what do you want to call it, 12 months or 15 months? You don't get to be with the kids. It's hard to measure the emotional temperature, but I just wondered if you've seen something a little different this year.
I wouldn't say different. I would say that I do recess every day with the pod kids and the conversations that mostly with the girls, because the boys don't want to talk, they want to play. But the girls they talk, and we talk about lots of different stuff. And one girl in particular, we just talk. She talks about things like, did you see what happened on the with the Capitol? And I watched with my grandma, and so like they're seeing it. They're definitely seeing it, and they want to have conversations about it. And so, we're allowing them to have that space to talk and process for the ones that we do have in person right now.
Yeah, great. Anything else for Michelle before we let her go? I'm really looking forward to the slideshow at the end. Thank you for doing that. Again, I think it's a wonderful way of replacing that morning announcement since we don't get that anymore, or we don't get it this year. So I guess I will turn my attention now to Jack, and let's hear what's going on over at the middle school and the high school.
Thank you. I'm going to start out just with a winter sports update. So as you know, we did have to cancel the swimming season this year. We were unable to secure a pool with COVID. Everybody had their pools pretty locked down and kept them just for themselves. So that was disappointing. As a whole, though, our winter season's gone really well. I think like most teams, we did have some COVID complications, but we've rebounded nicely here. In the second half of the season, we've been trouble-free. So we are at a point now where we're pivoting from the regular season to the postseason. And so last Friday, our boys played Troy Christian, and it was the game where the Ohio High School Athletic Association COVID assessor was there. So that was it was exciting for us because we've had processes and protocols in place all season. So it was nice to get feedback, and our report was really great. It really confirmed that what we were doing was what the CDC and Greene County Public Health and the Ohio High School Athletic Association, what they're saying we should be doing. So I want to thank our fans and our athletes and our community members for following those guidelines. But it was a really exciting game as well. And we were down 13 at halftime against a team that had way more experience and honestly, I think probably a little bit more talent than we had. But we played hard and we came back in the second half. We never gave up. We had some of our younger students hit some big three-pointers in the second half, and we ended up upsetting them. So I think they're in second place in the conference. So it was nice for us. We're a young team. We have no seniors this year. So it was nice for us to be able to come back and get that win. We're 6-11 now in the season. Girls basketball, we're at 10-4. So we've played pretty consistently this year. We've gotten a couple real big wins. Almost knocked off Legacy Christian, which is they have 2 Division I commits already. So that was a great game for us, even though we lost. And then our bowling team just competed in the Metro Buckeye Conference Championships. We finished 3rd in the conference. And Finn Bledsoe was an all-conference first bowler, or first team bowler. So congrats to him. And we did have one student advance on in postseason play, Christian Miller. So congratulations to him. So next, I want to talk a little bit about TAC Industries, a partnership that Jody Chick has been working on with TAC Industries. So TAC is located in Springfield, and their focus is on creating work environments where students with disabilities can thrive. So they're setting them up for success. And they are partnering with Jody, and then they're also partnering with the Greene County ESC across the parking lot. And they're going to be bringing materials, and then our students will be able to do the work in our schools. So they'll be able to earn a little bit of income. They'll be able to get on-job training. They'll be able to look forward to what it means to keep a career, to get a job and then keep a career. And they'll be doing meaningful work that they get paid for. So that's a really exciting partnership that starts this upcoming week. They come in for the first training session. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like and seeing that hopefully grow to include more students in the future. And then the last thing that I want to present on is our Wednesday activities. So each Wednesday since the beginning of the second quarter, we've had students in, and we run 4 one-hour sessions in the morning and then in the afternoon. And those sessions are, they're, for the most part, they're academic sessions, but there are some teachers who are calling in students who they feel like just need connection. And then in the afternoon, we're doing more community building activities. We've done a variety of different things, from remote control car racing to comic book club, and the comic book club walked down to the bookstore in town. We have photography going on. We have an engineering club that our students are able to get into. All of our school clubs, School Forest Club, Gay Straight Alliance, those are all meeting during that time. So it's been really positive to see our students in being able to connect with their peers in a non-academic way. So the note that you see there, that's a club that was just been going for 2 weeks, that Miss Hyatt and Miss Lohmeyer are leading. It's called the Feel Good Club, and they are filling out their spaces each week. And one of their goals each week is to improve somebody else's life or to bring happiness to somebody else. So last week, at the end of the day, they took a Post-its and went all around the building, putting Post-its with positive messages on them just for people to see. So I thought that was it's really great. It's really refreshing. I was actually in a meeting when the student stuck this one on my door, and I wasn't able to read what it was. When I walked out at the end of the day and read it, it was just like, I needed it. And it was just the right time. It hit me at just the right time. So really cool, really impactful things that our kids are doing, still trying to connect with them. And then, we've got one eye on the future and our future return. So as much as we're trying to thrive now, we're looking to that future. So the next 2 Wednesdays, we are actually going to have new student orientations. So there'll be communication coming out to families tomorrow, where we're going to invite our 7th graders, our 9th graders, and then any student who is new to the district into our building. And we're going to run a modified 7-period schedule. And the 2 goals, number 1, to help students not get lost in the building. And then number 2, allow our students just to get comfortable walking, being around people, getting to know their teachers, just getting comfortable and hopefully starting to connect again with adults before we come back eventually in March. So we're excited about that and looking forward to that the next 2 Wednesdays.
Wonderful. Yes, that is exactly the right way to end, thinking about coming back. Jack, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I was on the phone a little while ago with Brian Hausch, and I think he had some exciting news about the debate team. I wondered if you want to just give them a shout out real fast.
Yes, absolutely. So our speech and debate team, it continues to be small, but we're having a lot of success with small numbers. So a couple weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago now, we had our 3rd Bulldog tournament that we've hosted. This one was all virtual. And our younger students, a couple of them won their specific competitions. And then our middle school students won the small school division. So kudos to them and to Brian and Cindy for the work that they're doing with our students. And for me, the most exciting part about that extracurricular is seeing it carry over in other places. So seeing one of the students who's thriving there is on our ed visioning team for the facilities, to see her speaking up in front of a group of adults, with just the charisma and the poise that she has. So it's nice to see when those extracurriculars or co-curriculars carry over into the academic setting.
I'll take us back just briefly to our student presentation. The debate team is small, but it kicks some derriere in this tournament, and I really want to thank Brian, who, as of course you all know, in addition to his day job, also serves as the president of Village Council. But he has devoted so much time and so skillfully to develop this debate team over the last several years. So bravo to the team, and also thank you so much, Brian, for doing that. Other questions for Jack or elaborations?
Well, I don't really have a question. My concern, of course, is everybody else's concern, which are the students. And, there's been a push for social emotional learning these last couple of years. I have great concern about how this is impacting all of our students and so forth. I know your faculties and your staff are going to be watching over our children and doing so with a lot of care and expertise. I guess I'm just wanting to reinforce that and speak to that issue out loud and let our community know that we're on it and we'll be looking and watching out for our children's well-being in all the ways we can.
Ada, if I could speak to that tomorrow, that's actually the first talking point for our professional development day. So that's what we're beginning with tomorrow morning is, how we come back to school in a trauma-informed way, understanding that this pandemic has been traumatic for our kids and that each kid has experienced a different level of trauma, whether it just be from the social isolation or whether it be from a firsthand interaction with COVID that they've had either in their household or their extended family or a friend. So that's actually our first talking point. And then when we do come back in March, we build in a 30-minute advisory period that's really going to focus on social and emotional learning and building that community back within the school to make sure that our students have a place to heal with trusted adults supporting them.
Thank you.
Other comments for Jack? Again, it's hard for me to see when we've got this the screen up as well. So do chime in if I'm not seeing you. Okay. Well, thank you to the both of you for the reports, but more, of course, for the work that you're doing to get us through this and get us to that time when we're going to be able to bring students back slowly and safely, but nonetheless bring them back into the buildings. I think that we're all looking forward to spring. So thank you for all the work that you've been doing. We'll move to item 4 now in the agenda, and that's our treasurer's report and the financial report 4.1. Tammy.
Good evening. If you'll go to page 3, Steph. Actually, page 4. Keep going. And there. So I just want to talk about where we are financially as of January 31st, 2021 in the general fund. And things are looking up. So part of our school funding cut has been restored. So instead of having a $140,000 reduction this fiscal year, we now have a reduction of only $63,000. I say only. So that's going to increase our state foundation by around $76,000 this year. Also, our income tax collection is trending upward. And last January, our collections were around $234,000. And this January, they were almost $300,000. So that's about a $60,000 increase or a 26% increase. I have not started receiving the real estate advances, so we don't have that analysis yet. And then on the expenditure side, we're also doing well on the expenditure side, we're under budget. So when you put all that together, what basically that means is we're about $17,000 in actual that is away from our projected. So that's very close at this point in the year. And hopefully we'll continue to trend. And hopefully the real estate taxes that start coming in, that those will also be trending up. So a little more positive this month than it has been in the past. And then we also have actual compared to budget for the entire year and the targets, and keep scrolling. And then we have the graphs, so where the money comes from and where it goes. And then we also have the same information, different graph, different presentation, basically on a percentage basis. And then we have the reconciliation. So in the bank for all funds, we have around $5.2 million. And then we also have the individual fund balances. And that concludes my report.
Yeah, Tammy, that is probably the most optimistic report you've given in
have a quick
number
question.
of months. So that's fantastic. You know, it seems a little strange to be excited that we're only getting a state foundation cut of $60,000 rather than $130,000, but we'll take it, and that's terrific. Thank you very much for this. Other questions about this? I mean, if the arrows keep going the way they're going, it's gonna help a great deal as we think about getting back into regular and proper education next academic year.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I just couldn't tell if you could hear me. That stopped for a second. Is how's going back to hybrid? Will that affect the budget in any sort of very meaningful way? Slightly. Is that, and has that been taken into account? I couldn't read that.
Yeah, what I did when I set the budget this year is I based it on a normal year. So when I say a normal year, what that means is I build in there for bus drivers for, you know, the entire year, and we haven't been using them like we normally do. And I built in educational aids and special education aids like we would use them for a normal year. So it's built into the budget for going back.
Steve, I think you froze.
I did. I can't keep my screen on. I'm sorry, Terry. Could you repeat that?
Tammy, could you just finish up the last of that? I think Steve lost you at the end of your explanation.
Yeah, so to conclude, basically what I did is I built the budget as if it were a normal year, a normal educational year. So it isn't built in the budget. We may see our expenditures trend up a little bit as we go back to in-person learning, but it is there built into the budget.
Great.
Thank you.
Other questions on the financial report from the treasurer? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 5. And item 5.1, some appropriation changes we need to consider. Do I have a motion for this, please?
So moved.
Second. Whatever you need.
Discussion, please.
Yes, most of these are routine. Just want to highlight a couple. Needed to increase the appropriation in the general fund due to some larger expenditures that we have, such as now we're paying for sports medicine with Kettering that we have not paid for in the past. Also with the permanent improvement, that dollar amount is for the pre-bond architect. So we are taking that fee out of the PI fund. And then also under miscellaneous state grants is a school bus reimbursement grant of a little over $19,000 that we received, and we are purchasing one school bus to replace a worn out school bus, and we will be using that grant to offset the cost.
Great. Let's call the roll on that item.
Mayor Hemick?
Yes.
Ellison?
Yes.
McQueen?
Yes.
Turner?
Yes.
Khan?
Yes. Thank you for that, Tammy. As always, clear, concise, and very helpful. We'll move to item 6. That's our superintendent's report. Terry, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, board, it is the time for our semi-annual bullying report. We have no reports from Mills Lawn and just one from the middle school, high school. So there's that. You know, we try to pay attention to this all the time, even virtually. And the principals do a good job of that. So that's the required report. I really want to talk about two things. First of all is where we are with the pandemic and our return to school. So, today is Thursday. Every Thursday I push out updated metrics. And if you remember back in December, we identified some metrics that we would use beginning second semester, which was January 19th, to determine week by week when we were coming back hybrid, 50% hybrid. And then my friend, Governor DeWine, changed that in January by throwing down the vaccine gauntlet. But it really kind of aligned with our plan to try to get back as soon as possible in a hybrid way. So the numbers are getting better. We've not met our metrics yet, but if you look at the whole chart that we have posted on our website, you can clearly see numbers going down. So fingers crossed. But we will return on March 1st hybrid, and we will return because we've committed to that for vaccination for our staff. That is rolling along quickly. So all of the Greene County schools are next week. And so we are partnering with Kroger's. That was one of the partners that we could choose. So our first dose will be next Friday. So we have about 93% of our staff getting vaccinated. And so if you hear of numbers from other districts, some districts have 60%, some have less than that. So that's pretty incredible. So next Friday will be an asynchronous day, and we'll push out all of this communication, which means it's still a school day. Kids are still working, but not with teachers because everybody has to make their appointment, and then there's a lot of back and forth. Our clinic is at Fairborn High School. I think we might be getting, I thought the Pfizer, now maybe Moderna, and Kroger doesn't know that until the last minute, but excuse me, if we get Moderna, the second dose is 4 weeks out, which means Friday, March 19th, which is actually our conference exchange day. So we won't have to take a calamity day or anything like that, which I was thinking we might have to take. So we are well on our way there. And that is a positive. As Jack mentioned before, we are using all of our ESSER funds for supporting our health and safety measures to account for when kids come back. What additional cleaning do we have to do? What additional equipment do we need, et cetera? So we have worked on that. Jeff Irick, bless him, probably did not realize what he was signing up for when I said, I'm going to put you as our COVID person in the district. So he is absolutely an expert, and he's been doing a fantastic job. He's on the phone frequently with Greene County Public Health. He talks to parents, he talks to coaches and students and teachers. So we know what the procedure is should somebody have to quarantine or should somebody test positive. We've kind of got that pretty well set. Even though guidance has changed from the Ohio Department of Health and CDC, we will still be conservative in terms of our quarantine days. They've reduced it to 10. We're going to stay with 14. They reduced the social distancing to 3. We're going to stay with 6. We are going to push out the request to double mask. We have thousands of masks in the district that have been given to us by various organizations, and some we purchased. So, we're not short on masks. So I think we have enough procedures in place that we're doing everything in our possible to make it safe. But I got to tell you, the kids and the parents, they're wanting to come back. So it's actually pretty exciting because it feels like whatever sense of normalcy we can grab, I think we need to grab. One other thing that changed this week, and that was that in his Tuesday press conference, the governor indicated that all schools would be, he said, somebody asked today, is it a requirement? All schools would be requested to submit a plan about how they were going to support students who now have learning gaps. Today I read it was probably going to be legislated as a requirement in the next few weeks. So that is due to the state by April 1st. Now, I say that we have already met about this, and we have kind of some thoughts in place about what we're going to do, but I will bring that to you probably next month at the board meeting, so we can discuss it publicly, but we are required to do that. It's the right thing to do, but again, a lot of requirements from Columbus. So that's it about COVID and the vaccine and our return. I want to talk about our facilities master planning process that is now underway. We have two groups that are running kind of parallel to each other. The community advisory team that is really kind of the workhorse. They hear all of the technical information, the financial information, and that's composed of administrators, some teachers, some students, and parents and community members. And then we have the educational visioning team, which is composed of some parents, teachers, and lots of students. And so the educational visioning team talks about here's what our day-to-day looks like in terms of education. Here's what it looks like in terms of PBL, because we are a PBL district. And here are some struggles we have with our current facilities to successfully get that work done. That information is then presented to the community advisory team. And so it becomes this back and forth process that will eventually wind up in a plan being presented to the board. So that is underway. I had an editorial in the YS News last week that explained the process for everyone. And so I think that's helpful. I do not want to miss this opportunity tonight, though, to talk about the property upon which our buildings sit. So specifically, Mills Lawn Elementary. I hope to have another editorial in the news next week, kind of explaining this, but I want to say that we do not have any plans right now to do anything with the Mills Lawn property, because I have a school sitting on the Mills Lawn property, and I need that school, and I need that property. We are in the facilities master planning process. As part of that process, through public discussion and through the CAT team getting valuable input, through our community forums, and we'll have 3 community forums, it's through that process, as we decide what facilities we need, then we decide, okay, where is the best spot for those facilities? And while I know Mills Lawn is used as green space, it's beautiful, I get that. It's a school. It is a school lot. And we can't, people mention the letter from Antioch in 1948. I have that. I'm going to make that public on our facility site. But it was given to the district at that point, the I think Miami Township School Board. It was given to the district without restriction. There was the language that said, we hope you use it for green space, et cetera, and so that the community can take advantage of it. But President McGregor also said, we have no way at this time to know what the situation will be in the future. And so that is why we are giving it to you without restriction. I would love to say the district is in a position to donate the property should we no longer need a school there, donate the property for the common good. But I'm also hearing lots of people say, hey, you need to pay attention to taxes and you need to pay attention to the financial burden. I understand that. So, you know, we all know how valuable land is. The district owns property upon which 2 schools sit. And again, it's through this process, the facilities master planning process, that we will eventually get to the question of where those properties will be, whether they continue right where they are or somewhere else. We have not made any plans to sell any property, to lease any property, to divest of any property in any way. And so I say to the public who might be listening, if you hear someone saying that, I can tell you they are flat out not telling the truth. I don't know any other way to say it. But we welcome input, and that's kind of where we are with facilities.
Terry, bravo, and thank you for putting it as plainly and as clearly as it can be put. I would reiterate that on behalf of the board, and I would say as well that the district owns a considerable amount of property out on Enon Road with the high school. We have no plans to divest, sell, develop, dredge, ditch, or anything else that property either. We are going through a process right now to determine the best, most feasible, most financially affordable options. That's where we're at. And so, as I said at the outset of this meeting, we invited a group of residents who are particularly concerned about Mills Lawn. They refused to come talk to us about that. That's very disappointing. But our process will proceed as openly and transparently as it has been thus far, and we will get to what we believe is the best, most right decision for the village when we finally decide what the levy will look like. So thank you for that update, Terry. Much appreciated.
Welcome.
Any other questions about the superintendent's update? Then we'll move on to item 7, and that's the adoption of the administrative portion of our consent calendar. That's items 7.1 through 7.4, I believe, 7.5, sorry. Do I have a motion up for that, please?
I'll move.
Second.
Terry,
you want to take us through some of this?
Yep.
We have some second reads. We've got, yeah.
Yep. The second reads, I mean, you know, that's pretty typical. There are two items on here that are agreements with local colleges and universities for our College Credit Plus program. Now is the time that we do that each year, and that's so our students can take advantage of the option of earning college credit while in high school. Item 7.4, I want to explain just a little bit, and that is, as we move back to a hybrid situation, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act expired on December 31st of 2020. Districts were given the latitude to kind of at their own expense continue that in some form or fashion. So we are going to continue it in a smaller way. And by that I mean, if a teacher has to quarantine for some school-related exposure, they do not have to use their own sick time up to 10 days. For us, it's easy often to just fall back to remote. So there's not, I don't anticipate we'll be using this a lot, but it does provide a measure of protection that is aligned with what other school districts are doing. Does not count for those staff members who may have to quarantine because of exposure outside of school, because I can't control that. So, and it ends at the end of the year. So pretty much follows the FFCRA, even though that is no longer in existence. And then 7.5, I would like to take a few minutes to publicly thank folks who contribute to the district, contribute financially or in kind. So I mentioned that we have a lot of masks. We got another donation of masks from the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. You know, sometimes it's a surprise. Boxes come in and I'm like, what's that? And they're like, mask. We had a donation of 1,943 bags of food for Yellow Springs Schools families from the community food pantry from March 2020 through December 2020. That is incredible. It's an incredible gift and really helps our families. Donation of brochures and supportive information from the Charles Young Buffalo Soldiers National Monument, which is in Cedarville. And then donations to the Outdoor Facilities Capital Campaign from Chuck and Charlene Buster, Richard and Sheila Miller, Simply Women Ohio, Nan Meekin, Joyce Fishbane, Donald and Nancy Hubschman, Nathan and Edwina Graham, Michelle Burns and John DeWine, Karen Lemkow, Andrew B. Pearson family, Craig Bell, Michael Taint, and Yellow Springs Hardware. And then additional donations through the Community Foundation Athletic Fund, the pass-through fund from Aida Merhemic and Bob Barkus, Martin Page, Jacob Gunder-Klein, Jill Kuramoto, Annabelle McDonald, Eric and Elena Oberg. And we are very, very grateful that folks choose to reach into their pockets to support the schools and our students.
Hear, hear. Questions about these?
It's just nice to see some of our alums jumping on the bandwagon and supporting the place that they hold dear in their hearts.
Yep.
Let's call the vote, please.
Ellison.
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Khan.
Yes.
Merhemic.
Yes.
Thank you for that. We'll move now to the personnel portion of the consent calendar. That's 8.1. I need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
So, board, I present to you Schedule A, resignations, B, certificated employment, C, support staff, and E, extracurricular and supplemental. Very short, each of them, pretty standard. I ask that you approve as presented.
Questions about any of those? Comments? Vote, please.
McQueen.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Khan.
Yes.
Merhemic.
Yes.
Ellison.
Yes.
Excellent, very good. So that comes to that concludes the business upon which we need to vote. We'll go now to the final portion of our meeting, and that's our communications, our board communications. And as always, we start with news from the Greene County Career Center.
Let me see if I just change the speaker, if I can go on video. If I freeze up, I apologize. Nope, I can't do it. All right.
It's a nice picture, Steve.
Yeah. So from the Greene County Career Center, the first bit of news is that we have a Bellbrook, we have a new Bellbrook representative for the Career Center. His name is Adam Renelli, I believe it is. And he is the new representative and who will be on the board representing Bellbrook. Of course, we're sadly going to miss Mary France, but we were glad to have someone come and fill in such a really tough, long role. She was clearly major seniority, to say the least. Of course, the second big news was the open house had an amazing turnout, way bigger than expected, and they're not exactly sure why. We have a feeling it's just wanting to see the new building and new facilities, and that probably had a lot to do with it. But there was also a high enrollment, early enrollment as well. So the Christian is really, really excited about all of that. Then, also our adult education is full, like flat out full. There's been such a high enrollment of adults. Yeah, I think just a bit more time. I know a lot of people have been laid off or something along those lines, and so they're chalking it up to a lot of that as the biggest reason. Uh, for the most part, that's the big assumption. Uh, and yeah, there's no other than that, all the airport project has been finally finalized, and finalized meaning no longer in the treasurer's report. The payments have been laid out, and it's now securely in the hands of the Career Center, which we're also very excited about. And beyond that, we've been hybrid. We've already been meeting in person, but we meet in a giant cafeteria. And so I would suggest that if we do the same for Yellow Springs, that we meet in a much larger space than where we normally would meet, because that does keep everything very spaced out. And if you feel a lot safer, we still wear our mask unless we're speaking, but we're really spaced out. And that's my only suggestion for if we decide to actually meet in person next month. So, and that would conclude my Career Center report.
Steve, can I just ask a quick question about the logistics of your board meetings? Are you guys using microphones if you're that spaced apart in such a large space?
Nope, we're just speaking much louder than normal. And so is anyone else who is attending, the other administrators. We don't have the public per se, but we do have teachers and a couple of presentations here and there, none by the students. Usually a teacher, they used to all come in before COVID, but now usually just a teacher will represent with some sort of a slide, in place of actually bringing in students and risking anything along those lines. But beyond that, no, we each have our own table versus we don't share a table. And then that way we're all spaced out and it's still arranged as if we're in a meeting. And the people sit, and it's in the cafeteria, so usually people space out amongst tables for the ones who are there for whatever reason they're there as well. And so it's very spaced out. We all still continue to wear our mask. Occasionally, if the mask is sort of blocking if we're having something that we need to say, we may stand back and remove the mask and sort of project in that sort of way. But yeah, we space out a lot.
Got it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
9.2 Yellow Springs Development Corporation report, which I guess is me. And I'll just say by way of background that the Development Corporation is roughly a year old at this point, and its membership includes a variety of the institutions and stakeholders around town, including Village Council, the schools, the Miami Township Trustees, the Community Foundation, Antioch College. I'm probably forgetting one or two. This is a way for all of us to coordinate, to communicate, and in a sense, try to pull in the same direction. I think there was some frustration, has been frustration over the last several years that these various entities, left hands didn't know what right hands were doing. And so the Development Corporation, under the very able, so see what I did there, very able direction of Lisa Abel, is a really terrific venue to keep us all on the same page as much as possible. The Development Corporation's first major undertaking was to facilitate the sale of the Miami Township's old fire station as the new one opened. That has been much in the paper. I believe that real estate transaction has not entirely been finalized. I think there are one or two more inspections that need to happen on that, though that could have happened since the corporation last met. But we're looking to what happens in the next year for the kinds of promotion of economic development, promotion of the village as a whole. And yeah, I think, as I said, I think it's a terrific innovation, and I really appreciate that the schools were invited from the outset to sit at the table here with everybody else. 9.3, we need a work session. Terry, you want to talk to us a little bit about this?
Well, I think that we certainly need a work session to talk a little bit about, I think, just our facilities work. I think that's very public, so there's nothing that's going on that would be different, but it's easy to, I think if we're together, we can kind of work through that, and not all board members are involved on these facility committees. So I think that would be probably primary. We're still working on finalizing the bike path piece. Tammy, am I forgetting anything else?
Well, that would be a good agenda just on its own.
I think we would have some things to talk about.
So are you thinking this month? Are you thinking before the next board meeting, maybe early in March? What's your preference?
I think either. There's not a,
Okay.
I don't hear a clock really ticking so loudly, but just soon,
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think we could take a poll and see when folks are available.
And when we say take a poll, that means, Stephanie, you're going to have to get us, you're going to have to herd us together. And I'm going to suggest, as an opening bid, why don't we look at the last week of February to see if we could land on a time that's available for everybody to do this. And then, we'll go back and forth and see when we can actually get it set. Does that make sense to you, Terry?
Yeah, that makes absolute sense.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that. And Stephanie, thank you in advance for all the organizational work that for that. Are there other board member items, please?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aida.
Yeah. I'm not sure I have these dates, so Terry or Stephanie, please let me know. I just want the community to be aware, and these will be advertised, but the community forum dates, I don't think those have been put out, and I believe it's February 25th.
Nope.
No?
No. We're going to ask the YS News to print the dates. It should be, if I can remember, February 18th.
Oh, 18th.
Next week, and I should have mentioned that. March 4th and March 17th.
Okay, great. I had the 18th originally, and then I crossed it out. So great. I just wanted to put that out ASAP, just to start getting the word out, and so that people can plan and to invite them. The other thing I want to just say, and just take a moment to acknowledge community members who we have had so many community members who have passed on recently. And I just want to acknowledge that many of them have been great advocates of our schools and great supporters of our schools. And I just want to give some space and some recognition to to them and condolences to family members and so forth.
Thank you for that,
For
Aida.
saying that, Aida. Thank you.
Other board member items? Well, I guess I will just conclude by noting that Stephanie pulled up the website where those community forums are published, where you can type in a thought. I just want to make sure everybody knows this. Carol, I'm talking to you. ysforward.com. So that's not the school district website. This is an entirely separate independent website where the schedule is there, where there's a place for comment, where information will be shared as well. ysforward.com. Please go visit. Please let us know what you're thinking about the school facilities as our process unfolds.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Second, whatever.
I heard Steve and Sylvia. Call the vote, please.
Turner,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Mayor Hemick,
Yes.
Ellison,
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Well, that will do it for our February 11th board meeting. Thank you, everybody. It's always nice to see you. It will be better to see you in person. Yes, stay warm, everybody, as the weather continues.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye.